The Allies thought they'd be winning the war in Europe by the end of 1944, but Adolf Hitler and the German army had other ideas. This is World War II in 2. I'm Dr. Rob Citino, the Samuel Zemurray Stone Senior Historian here at the National World War II Museum. By December, the Allies had crept up to the German border in tough fighting. They were exhausted, and this was the very moment that the Wehrmacht, the German army, chose to launch its last great offensive. On December 16, 1944, 3 full German armies, spearheaded by hundreds of tanks, struck a handful of US divisions strung out along 100 miles of the Ardennes forest. The German plan called for the tanks, the Panzers, to smash through the weak US line, pass through the dense Ardennes, cross the Meuse River, and reach Antwerp, the main Allied supply base in Europe. Now, the Germans knew their weakness by this point. They were being overwhelmed in the air, and they planned to launch this offensive in bad weather so that Allied air forces would be grounded. Bad weather would act as a kind of equalizer for them, they thought. The German attack, known as Operation Wacht am Rhein, the Watch on the Rhine, came as a complete surprise to the Allied command. By now, a certain overconfidence had crept into the Allied camp. After the massive defeats the Germans had sustained in the past 6 months, it seemed impossible to anyone from Eisenhower on down that the Germans could launch a large-scale offensive. And as a result, the opening was a great success. German spearheads penetrated the American lines in many places and moved forward rapidly, taking thousands of US prisoners. But there was also tough resistance in places. We might say the US Army's finest hour, at Saint-Vite, on the Elsenborn Ridge, and especially at the town of Bastogne, in the center of the Ardennes road network. The Germans had to pass through the forest, and there's very few roads. Holding Bastogne was critical for the Americans. Now, the US commander at Bastogne, General McAuliffe, he's been immortalized. His troops were surrounded. The Germans demanded his surrender. They sent an envoy with a note demanding the US surrender. And McAuliffe responded in classic American English, nuts. Now, in essence, the Germans managed to punch a hole in the center of the US position, but US forces on both flanks held the shoulders, as we say. The net result was a sharp bulge formed in the US lines, and of course, immortalizing the battle forever, not as Wacht am Rhein or the Battle of the Ardennes, but the Battle of the Bulge.